Hello, I'm Andrew Price. Welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to show you how to make a May whistle. Now, a May whistle is made from sycamore or similar wood to celebrate the coming of spring, a day that we call Beltane or May Day, and this occurs on May the 1st. And this is a tradition that's been carrying on in this part of the world, Wales and the West Country of the UK, for centuries, possibly even thousands of years. And it's a celebration of the coming of summer and the banishing of the cold winter months. And this is how we celebrate. This is what I'm looking for. This is secondary growth sycamore, which means that at some point, probably a few years ago, this was cut back, and the regrowth now coming from the cambium layer of the bark is starting to come up all around here. So I've got some nice straight shoots. The tree I'm using today is sycamore, which is of the maple family. It's a cousin of the maple. Very common here in the UK. It tends to shoot all over the place. So I'm just going to use my knife and I'm going to cut this back. A good place to look for these are hedgerows. There we go. Cut that a little bit neater later on. So we're looking in hedgerows, places where sycamore is regularly cut back and allowed to regrow. And that's where you'll find these nice straight shoots. So the piece we're looking for would be something like that, which is not free. It doesn't have any growth nodes. There's a little bit of a bump there, but this here is very, very clean. So I'll use this section here. So I'm going to trim this down and take it back with me. So one more cut there. And that'll do. So the first step is to remove a 45-degree cut. Let's do that again. There we go. So that's my 45-degree cut, which looks like that. And now I can remove a 90-degree cut off the front. I'm going to work from both sides to do this. I'll split the bark a little bit here. Let's do that again. That's looking good. So I've created a sloping section here with about a 45-degree cut, and then flatten the end off with a 90-degree cut here. Now, if you look, there's no lumps or bumps. This is a nice smooth section of bark here. So what I need now is to ring bark it. So I'm going to cut into here, pushing down quite firmly, and I turn the wood all the way until I join up at the other side. So effectively, I've cut through the bark here, removing this piece from this piece. So these are two separate pieces of bark. Now I need to crush the cambium layer, which is the inner bark. And by doing that, it allows it to remove as one piece. So I'm going to use the back of my knife onto a nice smooth mossy log, just gently tapping it all over. And this loosens up that inner bark. You don't want to use anything sharp for this, so I'm using the smooth back of the knife for this job. Now that I've tapped it all over, I can just hold it firmly and give it a twist. There we go. Did you hear that little pop? So now that bark is removed, I can take it off in one piece. But before I do, I need to line it up again, and I need to cut a little cut into here at 90 degrees, and then another little 45-degree cut up from here, so it makes a smiley face like that. So that's our 45-degree cut and 90-degree cut there. Once that's done, I can slowly slide off the bark. Be very careful because it's very fragile. Take that bark off in one piece. And now I have to put this outer tube somewhere safe. So I always tuck it behind my ear. And while it's behind my ear, it can collect all that bird song, and that will be stored inside until I blow it, and then it'll come out. And that's a scientific fact. So now I'm going to use the knife again, cut up to here, just to make enough of a mark so I can see where I need to go to. Just trim it off there. So it's always making these sloping cuts followed by stopper cuts like this. Now I need to remove that front section, which is where the air goes in. Okay, that should be enough there. And now I need to excavate the sound chamber, so I'm opening it up, making very detailed cuts here. You do need a very, very sharp knife to do this well. That's why I'm using my Dryad Bowie, which is the perfect knife for the job. Even though it is quite a big knife, you can still use it for very fine carving like this. Okay, it's almost there, just a little bit more. And there we go. So I've removed all of that inner piece. This is the sound chamber. Now I take the outer bark, which has absorbed all of that bird song, and I carefully put that back into position. Make sure it slides all the way down. Line it up. And let's see if this works. And there we have a winner. That's a loud one. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And I'll see you next time. Beltane greetings.